I'm Callum at Repair Wins, and this is part 2 of a 2-part series where I fix 3 of these laptops. So this one's all fixed, it's working, it's the final machine, it's ready to go to the customer. I just need to arrange a time to drop it off pretty much. If you haven't watched part 1, I recommend you watch it first, but the general gist is that I took the laptops, I made it so they would physically switch on and work, and I put them half back together. And then this part covers me reattaching the screens to the machines, because if you recall there was a lot of housing damage. I'll show you some of the pitfalls I find along the way. I make a few mistakes as well, but I do manage to get it all working in the end, and I am left with 3 quality laptops by the end of it. So without any further ado, I'll get straight into the video. This is what I'm talking about when I'm on about screw issues. If I just take this, you notice how the screw is just turning forever? You see how it's just, because the little brass piece or the copper piece that holds it down is just permanently twisting against the housing. So the way to rectify that is you put something in here, like some vice grips or even wire cutters will do, to hold on, and then you'll be able to untwist this. Look at the sorry state of this. It's embarrassing. Lenovo can do better, they have in the past. It's not good business to build a T430 that lasts 12 years when you can build a V130 that breaks after 2. This thing is really in a sorry state actually. I'm going to be able to fix it, but it's just going to take a decent bit of effort, but we will get there. I've prepped this top housing then, because this one appears to have some damage. So when I took the screws out, they looked fine. But when I put them back in and went to tighten them down, this one tore out. And the same thing happened on the other side. So I've gotten rid of the bezel completely, and I've just taped the hinge down so I can manoeuvre it a bit, but it's not going to go too far. And I've done the same for this hinge here, I've taped it at the top. The idea is we're going to hold this out of the way, flood a bunch of hot glue down here where my thumb is, where the damage is, and then hold this back down in place with a screwdriver. We'll hold it there until it dries, and then when it's dry, that bond will be stronger than the screw mounts originally were. Here we are then, I think you can see that a little bit better. I've just propped the hinge up, and what I've done is I've got my soldering station set to 480 degrees, and then when it hits 480 I'm going to heat loads of hot glue up and jam it in. And I've got a stick that has got, we'll say it's got half health, alright? And I'm going to hold this directly beneath the camera, and I'm just going to start heating the glue. This is actually simpler than it looks, but you really do, you can't just use a hot glue gun for this. It has to be a hot air station. The glue needs to be hot, alright? It needs to practically be dripping down. Because if the glue isn't hot, it's just not going to make a good enough bond. Like, it'll bond it, don't get me wrong, but it'll break really quickly. I've had this hot glue method last literally for years. I had an old ThinkPad L520. All of the screen mounts broke. Hot glued it on, lasted for 2 more years. There weren't even any signs that it was failing when the laptop was scrapped. Well, I am really... Oof, this is going to drip in a minute. I'm going to burn myself. Right, come on, come on. Okay, I'm going to jam that in place, look. Just jam it on, jam it on, jam it on, and then... Oh, careful, we're failing here. Pull this out of the way. And really clamp it down, like I'm clamping that with my hands. I'm going to pull the hot glue stick out. This desk is getting replaced soon anyway. And just quickly, I want to remove the excess that's squeezed out, because that is going to be a nightmare otherwise. Right, so I've covered my screwdriver, which isn't ideal, but I'll pick that off in a moment. I need to get rid of the excess, otherwise the screen bezel might not clip down. But you can see how hot that was, it just melted instantly into place. It doesn't matter if you scratch it a little bit, it's inside the housing. Right, I'm going to pick the rest of that away and I'll come back in just a moment. As promised then, I've removed all of the rubbish, you can see. Cut it down nice and flat, and I just dug a little bit of glue out of that channel. When I say that channel, I mean this piece here, because otherwise the cover wouldn't have gone on. But that's looking really good. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, although I won't bore you with the details, and then we'll be able to put the bezel back on. By the time I'm done with all this, I'm going to end up high. I already feel a bit funny. It's nice when you're burning the glue and you just see all this blue smoke just blasting away, but it's fine. These are lengths we go to, you know. We've got to make sure these things get fixed. A little bit of highness maybe isn't a bad thing. You see, that's why you have to be 18 years old or over to buy these things, and luckily I am over 18, so I can buy it and get as high as I want, and no one can do a damn thing. Here we are then. I got the camera nice and close, well, as close as I can realistically get it, and I'm just going to put this cover on and cross my fingers that it wants to go into place. because there is a chance that there's some glue in the way, but we'll have to just see in a moment, won't we? Looks alright to me, except for one little bit in this corner where you can see the glue is kind of underneath the cover. I'm just going to remove the cover, remove the glue, and then clip this back on. Right, there we are then, as promised. I've removed the glue, so I'm just going to line this thing up once again. And there we go, it's clicked into place. And now it just requires the 4 or the 5 screws, however many there are. So I'll just put those in now. I think 4 is overkill. They probably could have gotten away with 3 of them, but hey. I suppose it's one of the few instances where they've done more than they needed to with this laptop. And if you thought we were all done, I've obviously got to do the same on the laptop side for all 3 of the laptops. So I didn't say this was going to be easy. I mean, the plus side is that all the laptops are free. Right, see, so that mount pointer's kind of broken anyway, so I'll just sort of leave the screw like that. It'll be all right. But yeah, so I've still got. So even though I didn't pay for the laptops, it's not like I'm not putting in the effort to make them work. And that's the reason why they are free in the first place, because they aren't worth repairing, quote unquote. Because no sane person is going to spend their time repairing a machine like this unless they already have a customer lined up for it and they know realistically how much they can get. But, right, if I just now cross my fingers, this bezel should go on the machine. No, I say should. And it's not going down in this corner, look. And I think we probably all know the reason why that is. I'll just pop it back off. Yeah, so if I just get the scraper and just scrape away this little hill almost that I've made of the glue. Now I am going gently because I'm cutting towards myself. Now some people might be saying, why don't you use isopropyl alcohol, you know, and put that on it and weaken the adhesive, you can lift it away. Because if I use isopropyl alcohol, then there is a chance that it'll drip where I don't want it to, and that'll weaken more of the glue. So this should be okay, to be honest. I'm just going to start from this corner first. No, it's the little hill that I made with this here. The hill is a bit too steep, so I'm going to have to devise a way to sort of. I don't really want to try and pick it away, because I can kind of see me picking away at the glue that's beneath as well. So I think what I'm going to do is switch my hot air back on, just heat it momentarily, and then sandwich it down. And once it's sandwiched down, that won't be a problem anymore. There we go. We're almost there already. So give it just. Right, that's going to be fine. Got to go quick. Got to go quick. Like Sonic. There we go. I can let go of that now. And you can see, with the exception of this tiny corner here, which by the way I haven't touched at all, it's lifting up a tiny bit, that this bezel is nice and, well, once I actually click all the things in, you see that it's nice and sort of smooth the entire way around. So yeah, that, I must say, is a repair well done, or at the very least it's a repair anyway. Right, there we are then, same as last time. It's got a post-it on it saying needs sorting. So if I just get my tool in and I start lifting from one of the corners, and though it is tempting to be lazy and pretty much not bother taking the assembly apart, you've got to take the assembly apart on every laptop because the hinges need to be loosened. And not only do the hinges need to be loosened, but you need to confirm that their screw mounts are solid. Because if the screw mounts aren't solid, then, you know, it's going to end up breaking in the future. Right, so I'll put the bezel out of the way. And now I'm just going to remove these 4 screws here. I'll get rid of this hair as well. Put it in the bin. Right, hair's gone. Screws are out of the way. This finger's off. And the reason why we always take this cover off is because there's 2 more screws under here. Either way, the screws are removed. And the reason why I did that is so I can lift the hinges up and I've kind of got free access to them. So the next step is just to tighten down the screws that are holding the display panel in place. And yes, we are lucky enough that these models use screws and not glue here. Right, that's a little bit cleaner. And what I'm going to do now is just hold this in place with my hand. And I'm going to try and open and close the hinge. Oh my God! Wow, you know, I'm not a terribly weak person. And that is requiring just an unbelievable amount of force. And that's the reason why the housings on all these machines end up getting broken, is because the hinges are clanked way too tight at the factory, And then when Lenovo do that, and Dell and HP and Asus, they all do it. When they crank the hinges too tight, it puts too much stress on the housing, it rips the machine apart. So this needs to be loosened. And if we come over here, we press this one down as well. This one's fine. Surprisingly, this one's okay. So I can tighten that straight back up, which I'll do. And as a bonus, we'll see if any of the screw points are damaged. Right, so they all tighten down nicely and none of them want to rip out, which is good. Cool, alright then, that's fine. Just this side we have to worry about. So I'm going to loosen this hinge. There's a nut here at the end of the pliers, and you just put the pliers on and twist it loose. He says, you just put them on. Ha, that was funny. The reason why I'm saying that is because it's never as simple as just put the pliers on. Because often it requires an ungodly amount of force. So the easiest way I've found is hold down. Open fully. Try not to have a flipping seizure. Right, and then, is that still in frame? Yes it is. And I'll just put the pliers on. I'm going to grip really hard here on the two flat points, and we're going to twist it backwards. Oh, bloody hell. This isn't even turning yet. Ugh. Okay, right, I've lost a few years now from straining my heart, but that did turn. Yep, there we go. So do you know what, that's pretty much bang on first try. Right, so now I'm crossing my fingers that these three screws screw in, they go nice and tight, and they don't rip themselves out of the housing. Come on, cross your fingers with me. Right, so that one's good. Okay, that's one of three. Good news. Let them all be good, please. I don't want to do any more gluing. Come on. Yes, that one's good as well. All right. Now these ones on the corner are the most likely to fail, so hold your breath. Yes! Haha! Awesome. Right, no gluing needed. So I'll put this where it needs to be, I'll put that where it needs to be, and we're pretty much just going to stick the cover straight back on, and then we'll be away. It's now time for the bit I've been dreading. Yep, there we are, that's off. And now I get the enviable task of having to glue this and this down. And what's more, I have to do it at pretty much the same time. So this is really not a fun job to have to do. If you're repairing laptops, be glad that you'll probably only have one or two of these, but I've got 3 of them. So we're going to get one of these nice, fresh screen housings. I'm going to put it in place, and this is probably one of the worst condition ones, so we might as well start off with it. I'll just put the laptop down here. We're going to basically just fold this down into place, look. And you can see that's sitting down. It could almost be said that it's sitting down nicely. And luckily we've got these 2 screws here. If I just take 2 random screws from this pot, when the glue is setting, I'll be able to put these in. And that's going to hold it all in place where it needs to be. As for the other side, we don't have a single screw, so I'll just have to press it down with my hands like this. Now, you need to be careful because the power button is under here, and you don't want to accidentally be clicking the power. You don't want to accidentally like glue over the power button, because then obviously you've got nothing to, you know, you won't be able to click and turn the machine on. So I'm going to have to get the hot glue and basically just stick it all down into this corner, cross my fingers none of it gets inside the hinge, and if it doesn't, we might actually have a chance at fixing this poor thing. So hot air station goes on, crank the speed up to max, and let's get some hot glue melted. Now, don't worry about the battery, it's far out of the way. The battery obviously isn't plugged in because I'm not a complete idiot. And if I wasn't editing, I'd have my hot glue basically right next to the station, so I can just fling this heating piece straight back onto the stand, but this is the stuff we have to do. Right, how much risk tolerance do you have? Would you be good at playing poker? Right, that's going to do it. Put this on, put this on, put this on. A little bit of it's gone on the hinge, but that's alright, that'll wipe off. Gonna close it down. Right, we're running it over the board, but don't worry about that. The main thing is that we just put this screw in. That's going to hold it down, and we'll put this screw in as well. So this is good because this screw is supposed to go in through the top cover, which means we're still going to have something to hold the top cover down in that corner. Now that's nice. But right, that's all set down into place. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side now then. Right, this one, by the way, is going to be a lot harder. We have a DVD drive that's supposed to go here as well. I'm not going to worry about the DVD drive. If I put too much glue on, I'll just end up trimming it back a bit. But my god, you can see there's barely anything to even hold the hinge in the first place. Right, this is going to be fun, honestly. I'm going to dump half a flipping stick of hot glue on here, and we're just going to cross our fingers. I want you to make sure you're crossing your fingers. I need all the help I can get. The noise we're familiar with now. Might even have to do this in 2 passes. So I'm going to put an ungodly amount of hot glue right here in this corner where my pinky's touching. Oh, it's going to drip. Right, bam. Right, I've got no idea if that's in the correct place or not. I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope that it is. I'm going to hold it down by hand for a little while, and then we're going to flood a lot more of it into the bottom. Right, I think that is set. But I can actually feel the hinge is really warm, which is crazy. So that cracking and popping that you heard was literally the plastic, because this hot glue was close to 500 degrees. I've dumped it straight on. It's a bit like when you take a hot piece of metal and drop it in water and it all starts boiling. It's pretty much the same thing, but that's the reason why we're getting such a good bond, because in effect the glue is melting the plastic a little bit and setting down really firmly. And I've got a lot more hot glue to flow under here. See, I've been slowed down greatly here because I managed to put hot glue where I didn't want it, and you have to quickly make sure you pick it away. And when you've picked it away, obviously that's fine, but it's just time is money at the end of the day. I don't want to be spending all day doing this. Oh well, I only have to do it for another 2 laptops once this one's done. Again though, it's better than these things going to landfill, isn't it? It's just hot glue's messy and it doesn't smell very nice when you burn it, and dear. Right, let's crack on then. You know that song, right? Snoop Dogg and Eminem. Drop it like it's hot glue or something. Oh my god, that burns. Oh, that burns. Damn it, I just nuked my finger. Right. I'll come in here now. A bit of a trick for you. There you go. Break the bond. Right, if that doesn't hold, I'll be sad more than anything. I won't be surprised, I'll be sad. Right, one more blast for this machine. Right, there we are then, people. That is finally done. Now, I know that looks terrible, but honestly, I promise you, that is a nice, strong, dare I say, permanent bond. I just came back in here because I need these 3 RAM sticks. And man, the smoke, I can't believe it. Here, right? Oh, there's no way you can tell. How'd you like the office, by the way? And then, oh Christ, I opened the door into the hallway, and it's just, well, again, there's no way it's going to come across on video, but this place is hazy. It's like a Sri Lankan bloody bus station. It's just full of smoke. Oh my goodness. My apologies for the road noise. I need it to clear a little bit of the air in this room so I don't die at 30. Let's just get these antennas plugged in. Like everything else so far, not difficult, just fiddly. You need to have a steady hand and a keen eye, or whatever it is they say for these things. Tweezers are your best friend. Just don't clamp down with loads of force, though. It should be pretty much willing to go into place. You shouldn't need to use much force at all. Right, there we go. That's sat pretty. I've put a fresh BIOS battery in. I've plugged the screen connector in. And all that's have to do basically is plug the battery in and just see. Does it go pop? Right, good news, power button clicks. Bad news, battery is completely dead. That's fine, but you'll notice the hinges didn't immediately explode, so that's at least 1 point in the Callum Folds corner. I think you already know what I'm about to say, but we need to use a little bit more of this stuff right here on the top this time, because you can see that this is damaged. So on this side, there's sort of a flat section on the inside that a screw will sit on. But all we're going to do, small amount of glue on here, squish this down into place, and we'll be away. I've already gone around the machine and made sure that this bottom cover sits flat. The absolute worst thing to do is to put glue on and realise, oh, the cover doesn't even fit anywhere. But no. So, same as always, crank the heat, and just make your life easier. I'm going to put this right where it's accessible. You can, for once, you can see me heating the glue, and look at all that glowing death in there. You know, this crappy little hot air soldering station is, God, it must have made me thousands of pounds by now. The amount of repairs I've been able to do with it, you know, probably one of the best investments I ever made in my entire life. And it was only about £55. Oh gosh, whoops. Right. More pay attention, more better is what I should have been saying. There we go. And the absolute ideal thing is if it's squeezed out here, look, and it has. That's exactly what I wanted. And whilst I've got a screwdriver to hand, I'm just going to start chucking some screws in. I didn't quite think, look, as I was pushing that cover on where the glue would go. And you can see that the glue has gone right there, and that's stopping me from putting the DVD drive in. That's something I'm going to worry about later though. For now, I think it's time to just get Windows on these things. Here we are then. I've got one of the laptops in front of me. I can't remember which number it is, but I have a USB drive plugged in with Windows 11 on it. I'm just going to hit go, and I'm going to start pressing the F12 key. Fingers crossed it brings up the boot menu, which it has, and I'm going to choose generic flash disk, because it's a generic USB drive, I guess. Choose Windows 11, and we'll tell it to boot. It'll bring you into this menu, so choose a language. For me, it's defaulted to the right one. Hit install, and we'll hit next. And then you don't hit upgrade, you hit install. That one gets a lot of people. And then this drive has already been wiped, but if yours wasn't, you would just click delete, then you would choose the next partition, delete, and so on. And don't bother making a new partition, just punch next and it'll start the install for you.
Got some bad news, unfortunately. I'm going to let you work out what it is. 7200U. Intel Core i5 8th gen, i.e. 8250U. That won't run Windows 11. I've just spent a long time, I think this is one of the ones that had a motherboard fault, like repairing the motherboard that is only a 7th gen chip. It literally says 8th gen on the chassis, and it says it was built in 2019 on the bottom, but this has a different manufacture date to the other two machines that it turns out are both built on the same day. So I'm not going to bother going through it all in the video, because I've already shown you the steps, you know, to repair these machines, but I've purchased a motherboard, and luckily it was only £20, so I spent £20 on a motherboard that's got the right CPU. I'll be able to take this one back apart, put the motherboard in, and then when that's done, I'll have an 8th gen chip, and it'll be the same as the rest of them. I just thought I'd do full disclosure though, and let you know that that it doesn't always go to plan, unfortunately. Like, I was thinking I was sitting pretty here, and I only realised yesterday, I was like, oh no, because that means I'm going to have to get in touch with the customer and tell him I've only got 2 machines ready for you, which is a bit of a shame, but it's alright. I'll make it work in the end. I'm afraid this will be a little bit shaky, but I did just want to show you some of the process. If I put this board down here, oh, and going back to our last clip for a moment, I did already check the parts machine, and it too has a 7th gen, so that's no good. But I've just put some alcohol on a tissue, and what I'm going to do is just put it on the sticker and gently sort of go back and forth, and then we'll leave it for a moment. I'll add a bit more alcohol. I'm going to leave that for like 10-20 seconds. Awesome, now that that's done, I can be a bit more aggressive. You can hear my desk bouncing off the wall. No doubt the phone is shaking crazily. Do need to use a bit of force here, unfortunately. These stickers are often a nightmare. There are specific products that remove them a lot more easily, but I've not got any to hand, and alcohol does work, you just need to be a bit patient. Do make sure you do it properly though. You don't want to like skimp and cheap out and not put the proper time in to remove all of the residue, because that is now completely sticker residue free, which is just what I want. Last thing you want is for the customer to just put their hand on the bottom of the machine and go, it's all sticky, you know? You've just charged them money for a laptop and you can't give it to them when it's sticky. The Windows sticker still looks good, so I'm not going to remove that. I obviously don't want to remove this sticker here because it's important. I'll take my repairwins.com sticker off the top before I hand it over. And then on the inside again, says 8th Gen i5 on the palm rest. I'm probably going to take that off of the 3 of them. You can see it at the bottom left, but I'm going to remove the i5 sticker. And the reason why is that it says the specific generation. And the idea is when you're selling machines, if possible, you sell them by the specs, you sell them by their capability. So I've sold this as a laptop that will run Windows 11. It's a machine that will run it well. It's fairly lightweight for what it is. It's got decent battery life and so on. You don't necessarily need a sticker saying what generation it is, because sometimes people see an advert for a CPU of a certain generation, and automatically they might think, my generation's actually quite old, and then they'll start getting it in their head that the machine isn't as good, and suddenly it'll start slowing down, and the reality will be that it's running at exactly the same speed. They'll just perceive that it's slowing down because they now think it's old, they now think it's no good. And so I used to sell laptops on eBay, probably sold 500 of them. This is machines that I've bought, repaired, refurbished, whatever, and sold on. And I've had people message me years later and say, hey, thanks for that laptop you sold me. You know, it's just broken. Have you got a replacement? You know, something similar. And what they never realised is that the laptops I was selling them were 10 to 12 years old. But again, I guaranteed that at the time they'd run Windows 10, they'd run it well. You could use it for all your basic computing needs. And they were really cheap. They were sort of £110 a piece. I was able to make money. I kept devices out of landfill and the customers were happy. It wouldn't have mattered to them how old the machines were, as long as they were able to do what they needed to do. And that's the same case here. This is a machine that will run Windows 11, it will run it well, run it quickly, good battery life, fairly lightweight, and that's all it needs to be. It doesn't need to have this cryptic sticker on it saying it's got a CPU of a certain generation, because as soon as people start seeing stickers like that, they start trying to make comparisons, and really you don't necessarily want your customers doing that. The last sticker is this big one that says dead. So because there's two on top of each other, I'm going to saturate the area with alcohol. Just make sure it doesn't drip down to the hinge area. There we go. I'm just going to leave that on there for a bit and we'll watch the colour bleed out of this thing. Which is kind of ironic, it's red and it's bleeding. There we are, it's been 2 minutes. So I guess I don't normally use metal tools, but I'm going to be really gentle with this one. And hey, look at that. That's not bad, is it? Right, let's see if the one beneath wants to come up as easily. Oh, look at that. My word, God, it's never that simple usually. Brilliant. See, that's nice, that's pleasing. Just absorb the alcohol. Now that I've absorbed it, you do sort of want to do it in this spiraling motion. You don't want to go back and forth. It's spirals generally better. At least that's what my experience has found. But yeah, that's not bad, is it? Now obviously the top housing isn't in perfect condition and whatever. There's marks and scratches, but they're consummate of a second-hand machine. And again, this is half the price of a new one. I need to keep stressing that, you know. See, no issues with the glued hinges. See what I mean? Working fine. Cool. Alright, the next step then is basically to just take wet wipes and clean the screen off and whatnot. I'm obviously not going to show you the process of me wet wiping every single laptop, but I will just give you the basics. And so we'll just do this one machine together. I'm getting into the corners. You notice I'm running along the edges of the screen first. And then that way I can just do the middle like this. Now you want wet wipes that aren't flipping sodden, because otherwise you'll have liquid going into your laptop. I don't need to tell you why that's bad. But you don't want the ones that are rubbish. So preferably don't use those massive like floor wipes you can get. That's not a good idea. So we've done the screen. And now we're just going to do the keyboard area. So again, we're not pressing down and using a silly amount of force. You're never going to get this perfect, so don't try to. You just want to clean it so it looks 80% better than it did. You can get it absolutely perfect, but all that will happen is that your keyboard will break because you'll have filled it with liquid. And I learnt that the hard way years ago, and I learnt it the hard way on a really robust keyboard. It was a keyboard on a very old ThinkPad, and it worked fine. Then I cleaned it, and a bunch of the keys stopped working. You got to think as well, within a week of use, it's going to be looking how it was regardless. You just want it to be nice and presentable when you hand it over. It's a bit like when you're selling a car, you know, you'll clean it. And luckily this one was already fairly clean, so it hasn't taken too much effort. We'll just get into the top of the touchpad as well. Brilliant, that's looking good. I'm going to do the same thing to the others off camera, and then I think we can wrap this video up. Well then, there we are. We took 3 pieces of scrap and turned it into 3 working laptops. Right, they all open up nice and smoothly, every single one. Just like that. Close nice and smoothly. I mean, I don't need to show you all 3 of them, but yeah, I am really pleased actually with how this has all worked out. You know, because these, I mean, you've seen in the video, they're all in a terrible
sort of state of repair. They were grimy, they were dusty, the thermal paste was ruined, they didn't have enough memory, some of them didn't even have storage and whatnot, but we were able to put all of those problems right, and now we've got 3 working machines. I've got 3 saleable machines. These 3 laptops have been saved from e-waste. As for the 4th machine, it'll end up going back to where I got it from, and it'll be used for parts for other sort of similar laptops in the future. So yeah, that's kind of what we're about here. Repair wins and recognition circular, reducing waste as much as physically possible. Now, you're never going to reduce 100% of waste, but if you can reduce it by 80%, then that's a huge impact you're having. As for whether I would do this again, to be honest, it's been a lot more work than I envisaged, but I probably would do it again because, well, that's kind of, I just said that's what we're about, you know. We take the junk, we repair it, we fix the things other people aren't interested in fixing. We do genuinely try and do what we say we do, as opposed to saying we're sustainable and then chucking anything like this straight in the bin. But from a business standpoint, you can't always do it this way, because sometimes you do just need to say, right, I've quoted the customer this, I can either spend 10 hours to provide that service, or I can spend 4 hours, because that's how long it's taken me all in. You know, it's taken me 10 hours for these machines. The hourly rate is still decent, don't get me wrong, but if I just bought, you know, if I just bought 3 laptops that were easier to service, as it were, I would only have spent 5 hours. I would have made more cash, but again, it's all worked out in the end. I look forward to handing these over to the customer, you know, when I've transferred all his data and whatnot. But yeah, if you found this video entertaining, feel free to give it a like. I mean, you might even have seen some stuff that was useful, who the hell knows. Even better if you could hit subscribe. I've got plenty more videos like this in the pipeline. I've got one that I aim to get out in the next sort of 3 to 4 days. Gonna try and keep a good churn of videos coming out fairly frequently, and then I might take a small break or whatnot, but I do want to get more videos out on this channel, reach more people, hopefully get a little bit more of a following, and that's going to enable me to do stuff like this more often. But yeah, again, hope you found the thing useful. Feel free to hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.